Welcome back to Above the Clouds, the untold stories of aviation. I'm your host, and in our last episode, we explored how private aviation expanded from a primarily American phenomenon into a truly global industry that connects every corner of the world through sophisticated international networks. Today, we're addressing what I consider the most important topic in all of aviation: safety. We're going to examine the rigorous standards, comprehensive regulations, and meticulous safety protocols that govern private aviation. And we're going to dispel some persistent misconceptions about private aviation safety that simply aren't supported by the facts. As someone who has been involved in private aviation for decades, I can tell you that safety isn't just our top priority. It's the foundation upon which everything else is built. Every decision, every procedure, every investment in private aviation is evaluated first and foremost based on its impact on safety. The statistics, the regulations, and the operational practices all tell the same story. Private aviation operates under some of the most stringent safety standards in all of transportation. I want you to imagine something for a moment. Picture yourself considering private aviation for the first time, but you have concerns about safety. Maybe you've heard stories about private aircraft accidents, or you assume that smaller aircraft must be less safe than large commercial jets. These are natural concerns, and they deserve to be addressed with facts, data, and a clear understanding of how private aviation safety actually works. Let's start with the most important fact about private aviation safety. When properly conducted under appropriate regulations and standards, private aviation has an excellent safety record that compares favorably to commercial aviation and is dramatically safer than other forms of transportation like driving. The key phrase here is when properly conducted under appropriate regulations and standards. This is where many misconceptions about private aviation safety originate. People often confuse different categories of aviation that operate under very different safety standards and regulatory frameworks. When we talk about private aviation in the context of business and luxury travel, we're primarily talking about aircraft that operate under what's called Part 135 of the Federal Aviation Regulations. These are commercial operations that must meet the same rigorous safety standards as airlines, with additional requirements specific to on-demand charter operations. Part 135 operators must meet stringent requirements for pilot qualifications, aircraft maintenance, operational procedures, and safety management. These aren't suggestions or guidelines. They're legally mandated requirements that are regularly inspected and enforced by the Federal Aviation Administration and equivalent authorities in other countries. Let me give you some specific examples of what Part 135 safety standards require. Pilots must have commercial pilot licenses with instrument ratings. They must complete recurrent training every 6 months. They must pass regular medical examinations, and they must meet strict experience requirements, including minimum flight hours in the specific type of aircraft they're flying. Aircraft must undergo detailed inspections at regular intervals, with some components inspected after every flight and others inspected after specific numbers of flight hours or calendar time. All maintenance must be performed by certified technicians using approved procedures and parts. Every maintenance action must be documented and approved before the aircraft can return to service. These requirements aren't just paperwork exercises. They represent decades of aviation experience and safety research that have identified the most effective ways to prevent accidents and ensure safe operations. Every requirement exists because it has been proven to contribute to aviation safety. Now let's talk about pilot qualifications and training, because this is where private aviation often exceeds the standards required for commercial airline operations. The pilots who fly private aircraft under Part 135 regulations are typically among the most experienced and highly trained aviators in the industry. Most private aviation pilots have thousands of hours of flight experience across multiple aircraft types. They've often served as airline pilots, military pilots, or corporate pilots before joining private aviation companies. They undergo initial training that can last several months, followed by recurrent training every 6 months that includes both classroom instruction and hands-on simulator training. But here's what makes private aviation pilot training particularly rigorous. It's highly specialized for the specific types of operations and aircraft that private aviation involves. Private aviation pilots must be proficient in operating from smaller airports with shorter runways, flying in varied weather conditions, and adapting to the diverse mission requirements that private aviation clients need. Let me share an example of what this specialized training involves. A pilot joining a private aviation company to fly a mid-sized business jet will typically undergo several weeks of ground school covering aircraft systems, performance characteristics, and emergency procedures. This is followed by extensive simulator training that replicates every possible scenario the pilot might encounter, from routine operations to emergency situations. But the training doesn't stop there. The pilot must then complete supervised flights with an experienced instructor pilot, demonstrating proficiency in all aspects of aircraft operation. Only after successfully completing this comprehensive training program is the pilot authorized to fly passengers. And this is just the beginning. Every 6 months, the pilot returns for recurrent training that reviews procedures, practices emergency scenarios, and introduces any new techniques or technologies. This ongoing training ensures that pilots maintain the highest levels of proficiency throughout their careers. This level of training and ongoing proficiency requirements is one of the reasons why private aviation has such an excellent safety record. The pilots are not just qualified, they're continuously trained and evaluated to ensure they maintain the highest standards of competence and safety. Modern private aircraft are equipped with some of the most advanced safety technology available in aviation. These systems go far beyond what's required by regulations, representing voluntary investments by aircraft manufacturers and operators in technologies that enhance safety margins and reduce the likelihood of accidents. Let's talk about some of these advanced safety systems and how they work to protect passengers and crews. Modern business jets are equipped with sophisticated weather radar systems that can detect and display weather conditions hundreds of miles ahead, allowing pilots to identify and avoid dangerous weather before it becomes a threat. Traffic collision avoidance systems use transponder signals from other aircraft to provide pilots with real-time information about nearby traffic, including automatic alerts and resolution advisories if aircraft get too close to each other. These systems have virtually eliminated mid-air collisions in controlled airspace. Ground proximity warning systems use radar and GPS technology to monitor the aircraft's position relative to terrain and obstacles, providing pilots with immediate alerts if the aircraft is in danger of colliding with the ground or obstacles. These systems have dramatically reduced the incidence of controlled flight into terrain accidents. But perhaps the most significant safety advancement in recent years has been the development of synthetic vision systems that provide pilots with computer-generated displays of terrain, obstacles, and runway information, even in conditions of poor visibility. These systems essentially allow pilots to see through clouds, darkness, and weather conditions that would otherwise limit their ability to operate safely. Many modern private aircraft are also equipped with automatic emergency systems that can take control of the aircraft and land it safely if the pilots become incapacitated. These systems represent the ultimate backup, ensuring that passengers can be brought to safety even in the most extreme emergency scenarios. These advanced safety systems are standard equipment on most modern private aircraft, representing millions of dollars in additional investment beyond basic regulatory requirements. They demonstrate the private aviation industry's commitment to safety that goes far beyond what's legally required. Aircraft maintenance in private aviation operates under some of the most stringent standards in all of transportation. Every component of every aircraft is tracked, inspected, and maintained according to detailed schedules and procedures that are designed to prevent failures before they occur. Let me walk you through what aircraft maintenance actually involves in private aviation. Every aircraft has a detailed maintenance program that specifies exactly when each component must be inspected, serviced, or replaced. These programs are based on extensive testing and analysis by aircraft manufacturers, and they're approved by aviation authorities to ensure they meet the highest safety standards. Some inspections occur after every flight, with technicians checking critical systems, fluid levels, and external components for any signs of wear or damage. Other inspections occur at regular intervals, such as every 100 flight hours or every 90 days, regardless of how much the aircraft has flown. Major inspections can involve completely disassembling and inspecting major aircraft components, replacing parts that show any signs of wear, and testing all systems to ensure they meet original specifications. These inspections can take several weeks and cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, but they're essential for maintaining the highest levels of safety and reliability. But maintenance goes beyond just following schedules. Private aviation maintenance facilities employ highly trained technicians who are certified to work on specific aircraft types. These technicians undergo continuous training to stay current with the latest maintenance techniques and technologies. All maintenance work is documented in detail, with every action recorded and approved by qualified inspectors before the aircraft can return to service. This documentation creates a complete history of every aircraft that can be reviewed by regulators, operators, and potential purchasers to ensure that all maintenance has been performed correctly. This comprehensive approach to maintenance is one of the key factors that makes private aviation so safe. By preventing problems before they occur and maintaining aircraft to the highest standards, private aviation operators ensure that mechanical failures are extremely rare. The regulatory oversight of private aviation is comprehensive and continuous, involving multiple layers of inspection, certification, and enforcement that ensure operators maintain the highest safety standards. This isn't a once-and-done process. It's an ongoing system of oversight that monitors every aspect of private aviation operations. Private aviation operators must obtain and maintain operating certificates that authorize them to conduct commercial flights. These certificates are issued only after extensive review of the operator's procedures, facilities, personnel, and aircraft. The certification process can take months and involves detailed inspections and evaluations by aviation authorities. But certification is just the beginning. Once an operator receives their certificate, they're subject to regular inspections and audits by aviation authorities. These inspections can occur at any time and cover every aspect of the operation, from pilot qualifications and training records to aircraft maintenance and operational procedures. Operators are also required to maintain detailed records of all their activities, including flight operations, maintenance actions, pilot training, and safety incidents. These records are regularly reviewed by regulators and must be made available for inspection at any time. In addition to government oversight, many private aviation operators voluntarily participate in additional safety programs that exceed regulatory requirements. Organizations like Wyvern and ARG/US provide independent safety audits and certifications that evaluate operators against standards that are often more stringent than government regulations. These voluntary safety programs have become increasingly important in private aviation, as clients and brokers use them to identify operators that demonstrate the highest levels of safety performance. Operators who achieve these certifications have demonstrated their commitment to safety excellence that goes beyond basic regulatory compliance. This multi-layered system of regulatory oversight and voluntary safety programs ensures that private aviation operators maintain the highest possible safety standards and that any deficiencies are identified and corrected quickly. Now let's examine the actual safety statistics for private aviation, because the numbers tell a compelling story about the real safety performance of properly conducted private aviation operations. When we look at accident rates for Part 135 operations, which represent the vast majority of private aviation flights, the statistics are excellent. According to data from the National Transportation Safety Board, The accident rate for Part 135 operations is approximately 0.5 accidents per 100,000 flight hours. To put this in perspective, this means that you could fly 200,000 hours, which would be equivalent to flying 8 hours per day, every day, for over 68 years before statistically encountering an accident. But even more importantly, the vast majority of these accidents are minor incidents with no fatalities or serious injuries. The fatal accident rate for Part 135 operations is even lower, at approximately 0.1 fatal accidents per 100,000 flight hours. These statistics compare very favorably to other forms of transportation. The fatal accident rate for private aviation is significantly lower than the fatality rate for automobile travel, which is approximately 1.3 deaths per 100 million vehicle miles traveled. But here's what's even more impressive. The safety record of private aviation has been improving consistently over the past several decades. Advances in aircraft technology, pilot training, maintenance procedures, and regulatory oversight have all contributed to a steady reduction in accident rates. The introduction of advanced safety systems like terrain awareness and warning systems, traffic collision avoidance systems, and enhanced weather detection has virtually eliminated entire categories of accidents that were once more common in aviation. These statistics demonstrate that private aviation, when conducted under appropriate regulations and standards, is one of the safest forms of transportation available. The combination of rigorous training, advanced technology, comprehensive maintenance, and regulatory oversight has created a safety record that any transportation industry would be proud of. Beyond the formal requirements and statistics, private aviation has developed a culture of safety that permeates every aspect of the industry. This safety culture is based on the understanding that safety is everyone's responsibility and that continuous improvement is essential for maintaining the highest standards. This safety culture manifests itself in many ways throughout private aviation operations. Pilots are encouraged and expected to speak up about any safety concerns, regardless of how minor they might seem. Maintenance technicians are empowered to ground aircraft if they have any doubts about airworthiness. Operations personnel are trained to identify and address potential safety issues before they become problems. Private aviation companies invest heavily in safety management systems that systematically identify, analyze, and address safety risks. These systems go beyond just responding to incidents after they occur. They proactively identify potential hazards and implement measures to prevent them from becoming problems. Let me give you an example of how this safety culture works in practice. If a pilot notices an unusual sound or vibration during a flight, even if it doesn't affect the aircraft's performance or safety, they're expected to report it to maintenance personnel after landing. The maintenance team will then investigate the issue, even if it means grounding the aircraft and potentially disrupting schedules. This proactive approach to safety means that potential problems are identified and addressed before they can develop into actual safety issues. It's much better to be overly cautious and investigate a minor anomaly than to ignore it and risk a more serious problem later. This safety culture is reinforced through regular training, safety meetings, and communication programs that keep safety at the forefront of everyone's attention. Safety isn't just a set of rules and procedures, it's a mindset that influences every decision and action in private aviation operations. This culture of safety is one of the most important factors in private aviation's excellent safety record. When everyone in the organization is committed to safety and empowered to act on safety concerns, the result is operations that consistently exceed the highest safety standards. Now let's address some common misconceptions about private aviation safety that persist despite the excellent safety record and rigorous standards we've discussed. These misconceptions often arise from confusion about different types of aviation operations or from isolated incidents that receive disproportionate media attention. One common misconception is that smaller aircraft are inherently less safe than large commercial jets. This assumption is understandable, but not supported by the facts. Modern business jets are designed and built to the same rigorous standards as commercial aircraft, often by the same manufacturers. They incorporate the same advanced safety systems and are maintained to the same high standards. The key difference isn't the size of the aircraft, it's the regulatory framework under which it operates and the standards to which it's maintained and operated. A properly maintained and operated business jet flying under Part 135 regulations has a safety record that's comparable to commercial aviation. Another misconception is that private aviation pilots are less qualified or experienced than airline pilots. In reality, many private aviation pilots have extensive airline or military experience before joining private aviation companies. The training and proficiency requirements for private aviation pilots are often more demanding than those for airline pilots because private aviation involves more diverse operations and challenging airports. Some people also assume that private aviation operates with less regulatory oversight than commercial aviation. This is simply not true. Part 135 operators are subject to the same rigorous oversight as airlines, with regular inspections, audits, and compliance requirements that ensure they maintain the highest safety standards. Perhaps the most persistent misconception is that private aviation safety standards are somehow optional or voluntary. The reality is that safety standards in private aviation are legally mandated and strictly enforced. Operators who fail to meet these standards face serious consequences, including the loss of their operating certificates and criminal prosecution in cases of willful violations. These misconceptions often persist because people don't understand the regulatory framework and professional standards that govern private aviation. When you understand the facts about private aviation safety, it becomes clear that these concerns are not supported by evidence. The private aviation industry continues to invest in new technologies and procedures that will make flying even safer in the future. These investments go far beyond what's required by regulations, representing the industry's commitment to continuous safety improvement. New aircraft designs incorporate even more advanced safety systems, including automated emergency landing capabilities, enhanced weather detection, and improved collision avoidance systems. These technologies represent the next generation of aviation safety, building on the excellent foundation that already exists. The industry is also investing in improved training technologies, including more realistic simulators and virtual reality training systems that can provide pilots with experience in handling emergency situations that would be too dangerous to practice in actual aircraft. Data analytics and artificial intelligence are being used to identify patterns and trends that can predict and prevent safety issues before they occur. These systems can analyze vast amounts of operational data to identify potential risks and recommend preventive actions. The goal of all these investments and innovations is to make private aviation even safer than it already is. The industry recognizes that safety is not a destination, but a journey of continuous improvement, and that there's always more that can be done to enhance safety margins and protect passengers and crews. But it's important to understand that these future improvements are building on a foundation of safety that's already excellent. Private aviation today operates under rigorous standards with an outstanding safety record, and these future developments will make it even better. This commitment to continuous safety improvement is one of the defining characteristics of the private aviation industry, and one of the reasons why clients can have complete confidence in the safety of private aviation operations. For clients considering private aviation, understanding the reality of private aviation safety should provide complete confidence in choosing this form of transportation. The combination of rigorous regulations, comprehensive training, advanced technology, meticulous maintenance, and continuous oversight creates a safety environment that's second to none in transportation. When you choose a reputable private aviation provider that operates under Part 135 regulations, you're choosing a form of transportation that has been proven to be extremely safe through decades of operations and millions of flight hours. You're benefiting from safety standards that are among the most stringent in all of transportation. But safety in private aviation isn't just about statistics and regulations. It's about the peace of mind that comes from knowing that every aspect of your flight has been planned, prepared, and executed by professionals who are committed to the highest safety standards. From the moment you book your flight to the moment you arrive at your destination, safety professionals are working behind the scenes to ensure that every aspect of your journey meets the highest standards. The pilots flying your aircraft are among the most qualified and experienced in aviation. The aircraft itself has been maintained to exacting standards by certified technicians. The flight has been planned and monitored by operations professionals who are trained to identify and address any potential issues. This comprehensive approach to safety means that you can focus on your business or personal objectives while aviation professionals handle all the details of ensuring your safe transportation. You don't need to worry about safety because it's being managed by experts who have dedicated their careers to aviation safety excellence. This peace of mind and confidence in safety is one of the most valuable aspects of choosing professional private aviation services. You're not just buying transportation, you're buying the assurance that comes from the highest safety standards in the industry. As we wrap up today's episode, I want you to understand that safety in private aviation isn't an accident or a matter of luck. It's the result of decades of investment in rigorous standards, comprehensive training, advanced technology, and continuous improvement by an industry that recognizes that safety is the foundation of everything we do. The excellent safety record of private aviation is earned every day through the professional dedication of pilots, maintenance technicians, operations personnel, and safety professionals who are committed to maintaining the highest standards. It's supported by regulations and oversight that ensure these standards are consistently met and continuously improved. When you choose private aviation, you're choosing a form of transportation that has proven its safety through millions of flight hours and decades of operations. You're benefiting from safety standards that are among the most rigorous in all of transportation, implemented by professionals who are among the most qualified and experienced in aviation. But most importantly, you're choosing a form of transportation where safety isn't just a priority, it's the foundation upon which everything else is built. Every decision, every procedure, every investment in private aviation is evaluated first and foremost based on its impact on safety. This commitment to safety excellence is what allows private aviation to provide the convenience, efficiency, and luxury that clients expect while maintaining safety standards that are second to none. You don't have to choose between safety and the other benefits of private aviation because the industry has proven that you can have both. Next time on Above the Clouds, we'll explore the environmental challenges facing private aviation and the innovative solutions being developed to address them. We'll examine sustainable aviation fuels, electric aircraft development, and carbon offset programs that are making private aviation more environmentally responsible. We'll meet the innovators and entrepreneurs who are working to ensure that private aviation can continue to provide its unique benefits while minimizing its environmental impact for future generations. Until then, remember that safety in private aviation is not a matter of chance or luck. It's the result of rigorous standards, professional dedication, and continuous improvement by an industry that recognizes that safety is the foundation of everything we do. When you choose private aviation, you're choosing one of the safest forms of transportation available. This has been Above the Clouds, the untold stories of aviation. I'm your host, and I'll see you next time, Above the Clouds.